There are a lot of areas to work at theme parks besides the ones I did, including the kids area, which is a whole nother world and that my daughter totally got to experience. In addition to the jobs I did, there's of course a whole world of other jobs out there. And my daughter spent one summer working at a part of Silver Dollar City called Geyser Gulch. Best place in the park. Sort of got a reaction. And she has been very gracious to agree to share some of her stories and experiences with us and give you a little different perspective than what I had on working in the park. So Geyser Gulch was, 3-4 stories high?
4 stories.
Basically a kids area, playing, climbing nets, ball pit.
Ball pit and water play area.
What did you typically do there?
One side of it was the ball pit area, and I had to go up 4 flights of stairs continuously, watching to make sure kids were playing with the balls right, parents weren't messing things up. I had to sweep the balls from the gun shooting platforms back down to the platform below. The other side was the water play area, where I had to make sure that parents and kids were playing safely and not shooting each other in the face and had their shoes on. That was the really hard part that a lot of parents couldn't deal with, was that the kids had to have their shoes on in the water play area because you don't want your toes getting stuck in the pipes.
Yeah, that would not be good. Okay, so the balls were the little foam balls with the guns and stuff. So the kind of ball that if we went into a ball play area, I would throw at you and probably get yelled at for throwing at you, but it wasn't going to hurt you.
Usually, but maybe not with this one, because the balls were so gross that most of them had turned black.
Ugh. Okay, so did they not wash the balls?
The boss would put them into several giant trash bags and take them to be laundered every few days. But I don't know what exactly she did. It didn't do anything. They didn't change color. They were just getting more and more black.
Maybe it's just because they were playing so old. And of course, this has all been replaced now. Silver Dollar City tore down Geyser Gulch a few years back and replaced it with Fireman's Landing, which has a whole new ball play area in it.
With fresh, clean balls.
Okay, so you got to bag up the balls. You got to make sure the kids had shoes on. You got to yell at the parents for not behaving properly. Were the parents the biggest problem?
Yes. The kids, if you told them to do something, as long as their parent wasn't egging them on, they would listen to you. But half the time their parents were egging them on, going, "Oh, don't listen to her, you can do this my way." I had arguments with parents a lot of the time about the fact that they couldn't shoot people in the face and the fact that they had to wear shoes. There was this one parent who had an extended argument with me because she insisted that her son had absolutely no shoes, that she hadn't brought any for him to use. I said, you took him into the park with no shoes on? And he's like, "Yes, I only have him sandals." And
Okay, for those of you who don't understand this, sandals are shoes.
yes.
Dumb yes alert. I'm guessing as a general rule, then, parents were the worst part of it. What was the best parts?
The times where people were behaving well enough that I could briefly join in playing with them before I had to get back to work. Like if there was a kid who was playing by himself at the water guns and had nobody play with him, then I could come over and squirt him a little bit and get him excited to play, and then I had to get back to sweeping and making sure things were clean.
So those moments where you could step out of the routine and goof off and play a bit. And did you get to do that often?
Not as often as you would think. Most of it was spent keeping things safe and clean, but there were the occasional moments where I could have fun.
Now, I know you had also mentioned that over in the ball play area that sometimes you guys would gather the balls up in nets.
That was one of the ways that we had of putting them back where they were supposed to be. Usually we just used brooms to do that.
Okay.
But if somebody had put a giant pile of balls by the entryway, then we could take the nets and scoop them up and throw them back where they were supposed to be.
I remember you saying you occasionally did other things, though, with the balls when you had them in the nets.
Sometimes if there was a family that was behaving and not doing things dangerously, then I could go to the balcony above them and take the nets and dump the balls on their heads.
How did that usually go over?
Usually they would laugh.
Okay. Usually, did they not always laugh?
Sometimes there were parents that got irritated with us.
You dumping the balls on my head. Yeah. People sometimes. You mentioned the parents were the worst part. Anything else that stands out as the worst parts or the bad parts?
I had a lot of issues with my boss, and I wasn't the only one. I don't want to make it sound too personal, but she had a habit of putting herself first before everybody else. So where we only got 15-minute breaks, she would take 40-minute breaks. Or where we had to come in on our days off, she would take extra days off. Or there was one time I had to come and defend one of my coworkers because she was just doing her job, and the boss randomly started yelling at her for doing nothing, even though it was quite obvious that she wasn't doing nothing. I still don't know what happened there.
So bad bosses do happen at theme parks, just like every place else. You eventually worked it out, or not, or...
Not really. She gave us the impression that she thought she was going to get a promotion for being a good boss, but we had already gone to Kevin and told him about the things that she was doing, and by the time our contract ran out, so did hers, and she wasn't getting rehired.
By the way, Kevin is actually the guy who spent the first couple years robbing on the train with me, the other pastor, when we took up offerings, and ended up as her supervisor.
He was really nice. He got upset whenever he found out that there was something that kept us from enjoying our job.
Yeah, because Kevin is like me. Let's find ways to enjoy it and have fun. And if people aren't enjoying it, they're not going to do the job as effectively or as well, and it's just going to cause other issues. So Kevin stood up for you. Kevin did good. Would you work for Kevin again?
Yes, if as long as I knew that I wasn't going to have another boss like the one I had.
What if Kevin was your boss?
If he was my direct boss, then sure.
Wow, you like Kevin, huh?
He was nice.
Even after he robbed people? Once a robber, always a robber. Any standout memories of great moments, bad moments, family that you really liked or really didn't like?
I know that there were a lot of families that I didn't particularly like. There were ones that they would walk by and smell just a giant wave of bathroom.
Ugh.
And sometimes when parents left their kids' messes behind and we had to go and call in a biohazard, sometimes I wondered...
Oh, no. So wait, you're talking about kids that... Okay, there's a bathroom that is like 100 feet away from it, not very far. And rather than go to the bathroom, they just went...
Yeah. Either that or they puked. And
what are they puking in the balls for?
The parents didn't do anything about it, and half the time other parents wouldn't pay any attention and step right in it, even after I was shouting warnings at them.
Oh,
and then there were some cases where it was such a big mess that I wondered if it wasn't the kid that did it.
How often did this happen?
At least once a day.
Once a day? I mean, the couple times I saw it at Disney, it was like Little Mermaid meet and greet area with this water plate. I can remember one time, and I worked there a bunch.
This was once a day.
Once a day? What is up with these people? Do you not know what a restroom facility is for?
The restroom was like right next to the area too. It was, you walked 10 feet up the walkway and it was right there at the end of the walkway.
Yeah, because I can remember from the entrance to Geyser Gulch, the ball play area, it was basically across the sidewalk, and it was right there. Yeah, maybe that was a good reason to tear the whole thing down, because... Oh my gosh. I can't believe it was that often.
The parents didn't watch their kids.
Okay, I am thoroughly grossed out now.
Besides that, most days my knees would end up hurting a lot by the end of the day just because I had to go up 4 flights of stairs over and over and over and over. Because
that was your route. It was just walking the whole thing. Now, I remember you mentioned at one point that if you guys did your rotation properly, you would get like a 15-minute break every hour or so?
About that. We did have the awkward moments, like the boss would take extended breaks, so it would mean that we would all have to be on the shift longer, And then there was this one guy, he was so off that the rest of us, 3 girls, including me, didn't like to spend any time near him. He would also take longer breaks. He eventually stopped working there because he annoyed Kevin enough that Kevin gave him a character. And it wasn't actually a character so much as, let's push you out of the way so you stop complaining to me.
I know who this guy is because he actually worked on the train briefly and tried robbing, and we realized within a couple short days that he wasn't going to work, but we had to give him 2 weeks. And oh my gosh. I remember that there was some story that he had some sort of head injury that caused some brain damage.
I vaguely remember that, but I don't think that it was a very good excuse for the way he acted.
He was creepy and weird, and this part of the story was he had a short-term memory loss issue. That was kind of... When
the boss yelled at him often enough, he did his job just fine. He remembered how to do it just fine. He just didn't want to.
He was weird. He was odd. He was definitely odd. Is there a touching moment, a moment that you were just like, okay, that was cool, and I was really happy I got to see that or be a part of that? Or
I guess it was working with the 2 girls that were there with me. One of them, she came from the exchange student program. I don't remember what that was called.
Young Life and then Navigators.
Yeah, she was a navigator.
Okay. The Navigators and Young Life were a Christian summer program. They came and they did, it was like a working summer camp where they did discipleship stuff and then they worked in the parks. And I did a video about that.
And she would have times where she would call me and the other girl into the break room, and we would hold hands and pray together before the shift started, and that was nice.
Very cool.
It's hard to think of a whole lot of like super happy or touching moments because it's easier to remember the bad and frustrating times.
Mm-hmm.
And I only worked there for 1 summer, so there wasn't a whole lot of time to make a lot of great memories.
Yeah. And yeah, you only worked the 1 summer, so didn't want to go back?
It would have been better if I went back there instead of working at the cookie place that I did. I think that I would have preferred that, but it would have also meant a longer drive for everybody, and especially with getting up early for the morning shifts, that wouldn't have worked out.
Overall, would you say positive, negative?
Negative on the more direct side of things, but I know that it could have been better if I'd worked in a different place under Kevin, so it's a potential that I will work at Silver Dollar City again in the future, just not there.
Well, of course, Geyser Gulch is gone now, too, so you couldn't work there.
There's Fireman's Landing now, and I don't want to work there.
The idea of dealing with the parents and the kids.
And the walking up 4 flights of stairs until your knees ached. And
of course, I think the place they have the balls now it's not as tall. It's like 2 or 3.
It looks like it's just as tall.
So if you had the option, though, of instead of working in the ball area, of working on one of the kids' rides?
Maybe. That might be better. Like, I don't know. I have to take frequent bathroom breaks. So I would have to have some place that would allow me to do that, and I don't know if rides are going to let me do that.
The one thing we haven't talked about is when it came to the break facility in the park, they had one of the cushiest break rooms of any. I love to go over, if I had time off of work, if for some reason I finished early and we were waiting for her, we'd go kick back in their break room because they had, 5 couches and sofas in there?
There was 1 couch.
Oh, no, there was more than that. And then the chairs, and they had
It was only about as big as this office.
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was huge. My break room was about the size of my office. Grand Expo's break room was narrow and long. Ours was basically, honestly, I think it was about the size of this closet. We had a picnic table and lockers and other stuff in there, which took it up. They had space. Plus, you guys had a bathroom in your break room, which most of us did not.
Which I think is just stupid. Like, why have a break room without a bathroom?
Wondered that for years. The train, if we needed a bathroom break, we'd have to go tromping off to the guest restroom.
And that wouldn't work for me because I have to go often.
Yeah, so. Anything else you want to share about your time at Geyser Gulch?
The days where we had storms were always annoying because we would have to close off Geyser Gulch because the building acted as a lightning rod. and nobody was allowed to go play in there if the building had the potential to be struck by lightning. And there would be parents that were yelling at us, like, why can't you just make the lightning move? And
I do remember, because Geyser Gulch was really kind of this dead-end spot. And so, yeah, if we had storms, they would actually take a chain, if I remember this right, and close off the whole entry area to it.
And then we would have to stand at the entrance with an umbrella over our head saying, there's other stuff up that way, there's other stuff up that way, there's other stuff up that way.
So wait, the area's a giant lightning rod, and you had to stand there holding a lightning rod. Because that makes sense. Yeah, rain duty stinks. And of course, you also had to deal with that if it was raining, then the steps inside got slick. Because it was open air. It was not a closed-in thing.
It sort of had a roof, but it didn't have any windows. Things just couldn't come in.
The new play area is nice because it's completely enclosed. It's air-conditioned for summer, and it's heated for winter. None of that. You were exposed to elements just like the rest of us were. Although you did get your walking in. You definitely got your exercise.
Not good on the knees.
So it's kind of a little look at Geyser Gulch. Would you like to know more? If you got more questions, post them in the comments below. A huge thank you to my daughter for spending a little time sharing some of her stories with me. I bet a lot of you didn't even know she worked at a theme park, and now you do. I also want to give a quick, huge shout out to my patrons and my financial supporters. They help support the channel and help me to do so much that we're able to, including some other collabs that are coming up as well. I also want to give a huge shout out to my brand new patron, Payden Crumb. Thank you so incredibly much for signing on and supporting. I can't tell you how much it means to me. If you want to know more about financial support, Patreon, YouTube memberships, and the perks that come with it, check the description below. There's links there, as well as at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Amber, for participating, and God bless. Watch me fall down. Shut up. That would have been a great way to start the video, huh? Okay. So this is ditching glasses. Don't let me forget where I put them. This is Amber's experiences at Geyser Gulch. You didn't scream this time.
I was prepared this time.
Okay. So we're going to do something yeah. We're going to try something a little different this time. And I'm totally starting off wrong. But, stupid hair. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to know about contact information, fan pages, merchandise, and more, please be sure to check the description below. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to know when I have new ones, well, make sure you hit that subscribe button right up there. And if you want to see another one of my videos, well, I've got a great one for you right here. And a huge thank you to these wonderful people here who support me on Patreon and with YouTube memberships. They get behind the scenes information, special perks, and more. If you'd like to know more about that, well, make sure you check that button right there. Thank you so much.